Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cyber Warrior Wisdom. With me, your Cyber Warrior. I'm here, guys, to give you a new thing that we're going to work on, that we're going to get spinning and running up, and then probably go into some later videos to configure a little bit more and, really get the true potential of it, which is a pfSense firewall. This is a free firewall that's been out there for ages, and it's great. It does wonderful things to help protect your home network and keep you secure and give you some options to maybe mitigate what your kids are doing. Kind of like what we did in the last video where we set up an adware blocker and you can kind of block ads and set up profiles and stuff in there. This kind of goes into a little bit more detail in stuff that you can really lock down because it's an actual firewall, which is great. I really love using the pfSense firewall. It does amazing things. So with that, let's get started. And I just wanted to show you guys this cool little artwork that I've been doing. I've been messing around with the AI generators and stuff. So this is one of the things that I created, and it's kind of cool looking, or at least I thought it was, for my Cyber Warrior Wisdom. Thought I'd share it with you guys and give you a look at it. So you can use pfSense with the TrueNAS scaler. What we did before, how we set up in the previous videos, we set up the TrueNAS scaler and had our own environment. We could spin up virtual machines or applications. pfSense is one of those applications if you want to do that and go that route. But I wanted to make this one more standalone so that in case if you don't have a spare computer that you can set up a TrueNAS scaler with, that you can get one of these small devices called a NUC. It's a little small computer device. It looks like this, a little black box. It's got several ports on it here. We got audio ports, and we got four USB ports. Two of them are USB 3. And then, of course, you also have your network ports and your HDMI network ports. You got a VGA port, and of course, your power. And so that's it's going to be really important to have multiple network ports here because these are what's going to be used if you want to set this like directly in line, which is what you do with most firewalls. So you would go from your AT&T router or your Comcast router and you'd go directly into this, and then this would go out to your network. So if your Wi-Fi mesh or anything else that you have, depending on how you set up your home network, this would go right in line. So that way it filters and blocks any of the traffic. And then you can go into your AT&T or your Comcast router and turn off all the firewall rules and stuff there. I just don't like having my stuff controlled by a vendor such as AT&T or Comcast. It's just me being a cybersecurity expert. I don't like them having control in their little router that I may have to switch if I switch companies from AT&T to Comcast. I'm going to lose all those settings that I set up. So in that case, I would create my own device here, and I would be able to have any provider, and I'm always going to have my rules. So it doesn't matter how I set that up. So we're going to go into that today and show you guys that. And so with that, let's get going. So what you're going to do, first off, is you're going to go to your, like I said, I got my TrueNAS there, but you're going to go to pfsense.org/download. And of course, I'll have these links down in the bottom in the description for you to easily click on as well. Once there, you're going to click this download button and you're going to say, hey, and I'm realizing this now since I've come back to it after many years, Netgate has purchased pfSense, but still kept it free, which is really cool. So you're going to go through like a whole checkout process, but it's not going to cost you anything. You can buy your own device from Netgate if you want, and it comes shipped to you with it already installed, set up, and everything, and you basically just plug and play. But if you want to buy your own and kind of configure your own, teach yourself some stuff, this is the best method. So depending on what kind you've got, if you've got an AMD 64, or if you're doing the virtual machine option, or a memstick and an ARM template, if you get a smaller device that's ARM, you can also do this with a Raspberry Pi if you have a Pi 4 or 5. So that's an option. But we're going to select this AMD 64 for the one that I've got because it is a 64-bit processor in there. And then you're going to click add to cart. You're going to go to enter your cart, and you're going to go check out. It's just like buying something. It's really simple. So you can use your shop stuff if you want. If not, then you can do something else. So I've already went and downloaded it all. And so, I don't need to do it again, but you'll download it. Once you get it downloaded, then you'll need to go and get this etcher to install it because it'll walk you through on getting the download after you purchase it. It'll download it for you. And then you just download etcher. save it to your downloads folder, and then you're going to launch Etcher as well. So once you've got both of those done downloading, they are the installer for the pfSense is quite large, so you're going to want to wait a little bit for that to download, and then you're going to launch Etcher, and it will open up. If I can get it to, there we go. And then you're going to go flash from file, and we're going to go in and select. You'll have to unzip this too. I forgot to do that part. So you'd want to, right click, unzip it with our 7-zip, which we've installed before. And basically you just come out with an IMG file. So then you want to open that. You're going to select target here, and you're going to say, hey, I want, this USB device. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to click flash. And it says, oh, you're using an unusually large drive. Are you sure you want to? Yes. Yes, I'm sure I want to use it. If you're using a big one like me, you can do that. If not, if you got a smaller one, that's fine. You don't need a huge one. You could do it with a 12 gig USB stick. You're not going to need a large one. So you're going to go ahead and flash it. It's going to go ahead and flash this. It doesn't take long at all. Once it's done, then you're going to eject that flash drive, and you're going to put it into one of the USB ports on our drive here, and then we will just turn it on and boot. And if it doesn't boot from it, go into your BIOS settings and change your boot options and make sure the USB drive is selected. Once it's selected, then go into boot, and it'll boot right up, and then I'll show you guys from there how it goes, and we'll get that going once I switch over to there. So be over there in a flash. Hey guys, welcome back. We're about to set up this NUC device here, and what you're going to want to do is make sure you have your network cable plugged in, your HDMI cable plugged in, and of course your USB stick that you're using, and a mouse and keyboard before you power it on, because these tend to power on right away when you plug them on, and you're going to want to have all that set up ahead of time. So we're going to plug it in. It's going to turn on. And it's going to boot up automatically. You may have to go into your BIOS, like I said before, and change it to boot off a USB first instead of the hard drive that's in it. If you do that, you'll just press delete or F2 usually to get in to your BIOS, and then once it's in, it'll reboot, and then it'll boot off this USB like we're doing now. Once we get to that part, it's going to need a login. The default login is going to be admin, all lowercase, and then password is pfSense. And we're going to need to accept the copyright, and then we're going to need to click the install, setting up our network. Okay, so this is your WAN, which is your wireless. So mine has a built-in wireless as well. So we're going to click OK on that. We're going to continue. So it's going to take a second here, and then now it's going to say your LAN interface, which we've got our thing plugged in as well to our LAN. So we're going to click that, say yep. And then here you can see that we've got the settings set up in here. These are all default. This is fine to use. This is a DHCP server, so it'll assign IP addresses out to each of the devices on your network, which is great. So you can turn that off at the router as well from like Comcast or AT&T, and that way you have the same thing every single time. But we're going to go down and say we want a wider range of DHCP from 100 to 200, so we want 100 devices, whereas this one's only going to allow us 50 at the moment. So then we're going to take that out, and we're going to do 200, and then we're going to click OK. So now we can have it assign out 200 devices, and then the lower range, so from .2 to .99, we can have static addresses once we actually get into it. So we're going to continue with the install. And then here we are going to go into our LAN. So yep, that's fine. It's going to try and verify the internet connection. So it's going to try and reach out to the Netgate servers. This may take a minute. So just go ahead and sit here and wait. And so now it tells us this device does not have an active pfSense Plus subscription. So we are not looking to install pfSense Plus. We want to install the Community Edition. So we're going to install the CE, which is Community Edition. If you want to buy the Pro version, you can always go and do that and set up that way. But the Community Edition works just fine. So then we're going to click Enter. We're going to go with the file system is ZFS, which is fine. It's recommended by default. That is okay. We're going to continue. We don't need any rating, so we're just going to do stripe, no redundancy. That's fine. We only have one disk. We're going to select OK. And yes, we want to make sure that we go ahead and wipe the disks and install. So now it's going to go through the install process, and then once this is done, we'll come back and look at it more. Oh, wait, that was pretty quick. So now it's telling us which version of pfSense CE to install. So the current stable release, there's a previous one, or a deprecated version. We're going to go with the latest one, which is the stable 272, maybe 273, 274 by the time you look at this. So just always go with the latest and let it go ahead and install. Alright, as soon as the installation is done, you will get this sentence down at the bottom saying pfSense post-installation setup is done. So we can click OK. Installation of pfSense is now complete. Would you like to reboot into the installed system now? So you're going to hit reboot. We're going to remove that USB first. So you're going to remove it. It's going to say that it was detached. That's fine. We're going to reboot because we don't want it to reboot back into that USB since we set that USB device as the default boot. So we don't want that to happen. That's why we removed the USB device. And now it's going to boot up. So now here we can see it boots up. It's going to auto boot just like we did with the USB stick. Alright, now that we have finished the install, there may come a point during the installation where it asks you to configure the LAN devices. So if you're not going to use wireless, or if you only have wired, just put RE0 as your WAN, and of course RE1 is going to be our LAN device. So just make sure you set those up as you can see here on mine, and then you're going to hit yes to configure those, and then it'll continue on the installation. Once you're done, then we'll see here where we're just basically at a thing where we can log out. We can assign interfaces. So this is, if you ever run into a system or an issue with the system, you can always hook a monitor and keyboard back up to it and come into here and start troubleshooting. There are a number of things you can do. So right now we're just going to leave it as is. We'll probably just log out. So we're going to hit 0. And so we hit 0, but of course we don't need anything else. And this is going to be it for us. And then we can go over and start configuring the device on the computer. So we'll see you back over there in just a flash. And we're back, my cyber warriors. We are logged into, or we are at our pfSense page. So what you're going to want to do is, after you finish that setup and everything, you're going to want to move that downstairs and plug it in right off of your provided router that you get from whichever provider you're using, or if you happen to have your own. Some companies let you bring your own too, but most of the time you're renting one from them or you buy one or whatever. So you plug straight from that into this. Make sure DHCP is turned off on your wireless network or your mesh network, whatever you're using within your home, because you're going to take that and plug it into the second port of that device that we just set up. And that is now going to be your configuration is going to be from your AT&T, Comcast, or whoever you have, Starlink provider. It's going to go from there, from that router, into the pfSense firewall that we had and that WAN port we configured. And then you're going to go into the second port, which is the LAN port. You're going to have another cable plugged in that then goes into your main wireless router or your mesh router, whichever one you're using. And so for me, that would be Eero, the Amazon Eero system that I have. If I wanted to, I'd go and plug it down there and connect it up there, and I'd make sure DHCP is turned off on Eero or on your wireless router, because pfSense is now going to be handling all of your DHCP, so handing out addresses to all your devices on your network. That's what DHCP is for. It dynamically assigns IP addresses to everything that requires the internet or a network connection on your network. And so once you're there, then you're going to go into your 192.168.1.1, which is the default gateway. And what we're going to do is go to admin, and your default password should be, oh, which it's, of course, it's going to be HTTPS, and of course, it's not going to like the certificate when you first get in. So you're going to type in admin, pfSense is going to be your default login. It's going to say welcome. And now we're going to walk through the wizard. We're going to click next. Okay. If we had the pro version, we would probably get support. We don't have the pro version. So pfSense is fine if you want to leave it as that. You can name it as anything you want. So you can name your, you can leave it as home.arpa, which is fine. Again, you don't need to really know anything. You could set up your primary DNS server and your secondary DNS server. So we could set it up as our Google DNS for our name resolution. And of course, we can allow it to be overridden if we want on the WAN. So we can click next. And our time server. So default again. I am not going to leave it on UTC. I'm going to find of course, whichever time zone you're in. I like to have the US Eastern is mine. So wherever you're located, make sure you set up your time zone. That way the time looks correct. If you leave it on UTC time is offset a little bit from our actual time. So it might get confusing for you. So you can configure your WAN interfaces. So this would be the interface that connects to your provided router from your internet provider. I would just honestly leave it as DHCP, let them assign you an address, that's fine. If you want to use their DHCP, you can, but again, we're just gonna leave this all defaults. And so this talks about block private networks from entering via the WAN. Yes, we don't want private networks to come in via that WAN port. That's our port that goes out to the world. So we want to block that. Block non-internet routed networks from entering the WAN as well. So there's certain addresses out there that are non-routable that a lot of companies use inside their own networks. So LAN IP address, again, we're going to leave it as the default at 192.168.1.1. Subnet mask is 24. Again, admin password. So we're going to change this password for in here, and I am going to randomly generate it. I use 1Password, which is great because now I can just type in my PIN for Windows and it pops up, and I can use a suggested password. The username, make sure you type in admin. And in here, we can change this as pfSense. And it tells us the address we're going to save. So now it'll automatically save it for me, and I can log into it. Click reload to reload pfSense with the new changes. So we're going to click reload, and now it's going to basically reload it. And once this gets done, it'll say, congratulations, it's now configured. So we can check for updates here. And what we've got is the current stable release. Of course, we went ahead and downloaded the latest release, so there shouldn't be any updates. So, but it will go ahead out to the internet and check that and see. So we'll give it a second here. Which it comes back, it says we're on 272, it's the latest, so which we already knew. Okay, so now you can go back to system. And we can go down to like routing, which we can see our routes that we have set up. So our default route is for our WAN is there, and our DHCP. So then we can create static routes if we want, groups. The main thing that you're going to want to use is this firewall section. This is where we can create rules to block things, allow things if you want to allow certain things. On the WAN side is, of course, the side that is facing your provider. So if you need something to come into your network for any reason, this is where you would set that up. On that side, the LAN is going to be, the side that we're on, that we're talking to. So if we need to go anywhere, a lot of the default routes are in here already that allow us to traverse the whole LAN if we want to set up different things. And then, of course, you can create rules. Say you need to forward rules in for PC games and such. If you're hosting a server or something like that, this is on the WAN side is where you would set that up. So you would be able to click add, and you have to know, okay, I want to pass, block, or reject. So pass would mean I want to allow it in on the WAN. And then you can choose the protocol as TCP or UDP, or your two basic ones, and you can choose both if it's going to use both protocols. I wouldn't necessarily go with any here. That's not a good practice. So you want to make sure you know exactly which port you're going to set up. And your source. So your source would be where are you coming from. So you want to set up like an address, and then say, somebody out there wanted to connect to me on a certain port because I'm hosting a Minecraft server. So I could say that person is coming if they know their address. Most of the time they don't, and you're just going to allow anyone into your Minecraft server. So you would say any and destination. Okay, now where do I want it to go? I don't want it to go anywhere. I want it to go to a destination address. So if I set up a server on my network, I could go 192.168.1. Say we set up a server on 15, and then we would tell it which port to use. So now we got our destination port range from. So this is our from to. So if we want to say from, if we know it's one of these, SSH or something like that, RTP, but say other, if you want to type in a custom one, so say it needs port 1562. We only want 1562, so we would put 1562 into both of these here. And then we would give it a description. And we could also have it log anything that is coming in. So, yep, so we can hit log, and we can say description is allow Minecraft server. And then we would click save. And now we have allowed anybody on the internet to come to 1.15 on port 1562 to connect to our Minecraft server if we had that set up. So this is where you would do that. And again, you want to do that in the WAN settings. LAN is going to be basically anything inside your house that you need to set up. Most of that's allowed by default here, which you can see. And of course, you can do other services. You can even set up a VPN if you want to set up a VPN to be able to, VPN out and protect yourself and not let people know who you are. So there's all kinds of stuff in here. pfSense is a very powerful firewall that you can use at home to protect yourself. And it's definitely a cool little system to use and mess with. So I would recommend just going in here and looking at stuff, looking up, stuff on the community edition page, guides on how to do things. So even firewall and NAT, VPN packet processing. See here, this is all in the advanced section. So you can do a ton of stuff with this. Definitely worth checking out different things of it. And so that would be my sense, guys, is to, just play around with it, figure out, learn. This is how we learn. We get in, we play with stuff, and we figure it out. And this is the great part of messing with something new. It gives us plenty of time to broaden our knowledge and configure stuff. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up to help me in the YouTube algorithm, get me out there more, let more people know that we're sharing technology knowledge out here. If you do like my channel, hit that subscribe button, and the bell notification to be notified when I drop episodes. So until next time, guys, Cyber Warrior Wisdom, I'm out.